All right, now that we have all the capacitors replaced, time to get it back in the shell. So remember, we got these tabs here on what's my right, as well as the toggle switch for the channel that have to be lined up just right in order to go in properly. There we go. Get our screws out. I'm just going to dump them all on the table here. There is a sticker from the bottom of the board. Not really sure which place it needed to go to, so we're just going to tuck it here in the shell under the board just so it doesn't get lost. So there are two different types of screws that we pulled out here. Two of them have this like built-in washer. Those go on either side of the cartridge port here. So we'll stick those in place. One thing to remember when you're putting screws into plastic is that as screws are put into plastic for the first time, that's when they turn their threads. So when you're putting screws back in, you want to turn it in reverse until you feel a click. That's how you know to line the thread back up. So there you go, clicked into place. Threads are lined up, and now I can screw it in super easy. One easy way to tell if you're screwing something into plastic, if it has gone in properly, is if you really have to work to get the screw to turn in, then those threads aren't lined up. It's good to back it up as much as possible. Try to find that click spot and then screw it back in from there. Sometimes, like in both these cases, it was an audible click. Sometimes it's not something you can so much feel as you can, or excuse me, sometimes it's not so much something you can hear as much as you can feel the vibration through the screwdriver itself. Last screw for the board. Another thing too, especially when you're tightening screws into a circuit board, is don't torque the screw as hard as possible. That's just going to lead to cracking the plastic in these stands, which in this case, 40-year-old plastic, definitely don't want to try that. The other thing is you could crack the controller board, which is even worse. Righty, we will get our hinges lined up here. All right, it's into place. We have our two screws. Drop those in here. Doesn't matter which one we do first. My hand's just here to hold the system in place as I screw so it doesn't wobble side to side because it is a bit uneven on the side facing the table. There you go, console's put back together. Now for the controllers. All right, time for us to put the controller back in its shell. So first we're gonna stick the membrane in and make sure that we fish the wire out through the hole appropriately. All right. There we go. It was a little bit tricky, but we got it. Alright, don't want to forget our little disc that goes between the two layers of the membrane around this little circle. Get our spring in place. The little click wheel. Alright, once it's in the shell, the top of the shell is actually in two pieces, and it's much easier to get it back together when these two pieces are separate. So we'll start with the bigger piece first that actually sits down inside here. Make sure our button that got broken off here is in place. And it'll actually be held in place by the pins on this part, so we don't need to worry too much about having it glued in place. There we go. It's all clipped back into place. So once we get the first piece of the top shell back on, there's this little notch down here right below the click wheel. We have to have that lined up, or else the other part of the top of the shell won't go into place quite right. Get this side in nice and tight as well. There you go. Controller is back together. And it's funny how just cleaning it, click wheel spins way easier. And I'm also hoping that the sleeves that go in over the controllers might go in a bit easier too. So let's plug this one in, and then I will get the other controller put together. Alrighty, got it all back together. That means there's just one thing left to do. Let's see if it works now. Future Will here. So while I did actually record the testing of the system, I don't know what happened to the clip. However, we'll get to find out in the next video if it worked or not. So please stay tuned. If you liked this video, really appreciate a thumbs up, and please be sure to subscribe to be notified of the next one. See you then.